Okay.
I am so sorry.
Okay. I switched my laptop, so if it's not as good quality, I'm so sorry because I was like, maybe it's my phone. I don't know.
Mrs. GreenClouds, it was us. It wasn't you. It's this it's the shenanigans. I'm sorry of the studio. I really apologize. It just had to do it at the most juicy time. But we're gonna bring it
No,
back. We're just gonna
no. Because like that happens to me. That's just my luck with everything in life. When it's like I'm like everything was malfunctions. Everything always goes wrong in my life. I'm always running around like a chicken with my head cut off. So I get
Mrs.
it.
Greenfields, I can relate to that so heavily. And I feel like we, you can come on whenever you like and we can record. We can pre record, which for some reason goes more smoothly sometimes, but it's not as fun.
Be down
Anyways,
to do that too. Yeah.
we'll just
When
skip. We'll just skip back to the awesomeness that you were talking about. So I remember what you were saying, and I think this is very important. Is even though per se I have not had a child, is and I know this is different, but I will say, as an aging woman, it is hard. It is hard. And I think that there's definitely points and there's times that I've gotten so discouraged and so down about my image or so out of touch with even cultivation or just things in life or feeling displaced like I think like emotionally or just self-esteem wise or I don't know. And I'm not sure if that's what you were kind of trying to when you get stuck in a place where you're like, I know that this is not who I am, like, but it would feel good to be in touch again with something.
right. Definitely like know who you are because sometimes you're like, I really don't know. Like, that definitely happens. And yeah, no, I think I was saying about the science class and intertwining them. I guess I think I was just actually reflecting on that the other day. It's pretty cool, almost like that was foreshadowing of, you know, now I'm so passionate about this plant. And now it also kind of brought me back to science. And it was just crazy that that was like my first thing I did at home, from a science class. And I thought I had no green thumb at all. And it's like, wow, is this my calling? Was this, like I meant to do this. So I'm just going to dive in. I'm just going to go all out and just figure it out, and I'm gonna fail a few times, of course, but it's just what I want to do at the moment, and I'm passionate. I'm a passionate person. I think that kind of like I get the same vibes from you too, and it's like when I want to do something, like it's me doing it. I'm my ways, and I'm gonna do it all, and that's just what I'm doing, and I'm just putting myself out there. But I think that's the hardest part about it because people are getting it confused almost like as if I'm trying to say sometimes like I'm an expert grower or all of this, and it's like I'm still learning. I just want to show other people it's possible because and even humble some people because
Yes.
it's like coming from the cannabis community, which everyone's very welcoming. When you want to enter that, especially as an user, it's all supportive, and then you go to grow and it's you're like, whoa, that one hurt a little bit, And a lot of things they're saying is true, and you're like, wow, you just gotta call me out right now. um, but I also think, people need to remember that we all start somewhere, and I'm not trying to say I'm an expert. I'm not trying to say anything. I'm just sharing what I'm doing. So if I do something wrong, I hope at least maybe one follower of mine or somebody that takes my advice doesn't make the same mistake. Or if they do, then they're like, yeah, it happened to me too. Let's not do that anymore. And that perfect. Now we know. Now we know. And I feel like that's the important part about this plant in this community. And I think so many people kind of lose ties with that of trying to like have the bigger balls or, bigger
Definitely.
when it really is like at least we're growing our own medicine. What happened to that? Like we fought so hard to be able to do what we love or have what we love, and now we're gonna fight each other.
Yes. That's very powerful. Is I think okay, I want to touch on your chemistry because I really am very impressed with that being your degree and what you pursued. Can I ask you what first initially, you said you liked houseplants as well, but what was it that you were like, I need, and like what type of chemistry, I guess, is really your niche, if you don't mind me asking?
That's honestly a very good question. I really liked organic chemistry. I like the math aspect of it, I guess, and thermodynamics. So basically, a lot of extracting, um,
I love that.
but it's really I can't wait to see what I do with it. But what led me to chemistry is um, honestly, just trying to find myself in college. I felt like I started community college and I started a little late, which honestly, now that I'm older in life, I'm like, it's never too late to start something. But for some reason, when I was younger, do you ever feel like that time, I don't know if you have this, but I always feel like time is ticking and it's just like you need to do it now. And it's just,
Like every
not
second.
every second. Yes.
I know exactly. It is weird. It is a weird thing. It's a straight, but
Yeah.
I think like what you're saying is we need to slow. It's when you go back to those grassroots of what this really was. I think initially placed here for, or what we were all pushing for legalization. Ironically enough, was to have this as like a medicine and being properly displayed. I think, or properly used. I guess to whatever that means to to each their own.
Right, and actually, it's very funny because when I was a student and during the pandemic, I worked in the pharmacy as a pharmacy tech, and yeah, I kind of was on the completely other side of medicine when you think about it. And in chemistry, one of your first experiments is like making aspirin. You make a couple different types of medication in class. We didn't try it, and I did successfully make aspirin in lab, unfortunately.
I'm
I, my,
impressed. I'm like mind blown right now.
I'm like, we're trying to figure that out. So that was how that one went. But it's actually crazy kind of because I don't know, I kind of saw life differently once I came into this industry, and I I don't agree with a lot of other type of medications, and I think we're so fortunate and it's so life changing to find something so natural. It's like you're saying we're all fighting, to be able to have this, and it's awesome to be able to have it. I feel like I annoy people now with how I talk about like, oh my med.
I feel like that's like when you actually love something, you know? I
Yeah.
I think you can't help it. Is I
Mhm.
I really appreciate that about what I see, and something that I've noticed from your page that it seems that you're very talented and passionate at as well is cooking. Is I'm like, holy shit. Like I'm over here struggling with my mac and cheese. You're over here with like custom holiday decor, crushing with these beautiful meals. I'm like, oh my gosh, I suck as a woman. Like,
Oh my gosh, I love that one. Like from you because it's like I like feel this way about you. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's running all these grows, she has all this experience. Like you and Dark Horse are just killing it. You're vacationing, you're looking great. I'm like, you're
so
running,
nice.
you have your show, and I'm like, this lady, you have a lot of connections too. And I think that's what's really interesting about your show is you have people from all over. And
Talk about you and your awesomeness because okay, so if we're looking at years, you basically you've been around this for a big portion of your life. Can you tell me some of the obstacles that you honestly seen or some of the like pros and cons? Some of the
crazy of um when I start, okay, fine, you're right, like all that.
especially I think those are some of the obstacles.
You're like, okay, but I learned myself.
That is so I love it. Is okay, so then through your journey of your autoflowers, are you thinking that I love that you say that though because I
It off, unfortunately, and of course I was annoying him, the whole yeah, he did make me wait. Yeah, he did make me wait for the times, right? And as I desire, and I think that's really
I've just never changed. I've just never changed followers. Period. It just is followers. Period. It just is never changed. Sometimes I lose like 80 actually. I will never change. Sometimes I lose like 80 actually. I will.
cooler, honestly. So I think that's cooler, honestly. So I I think that's
No, I
awesome.
love people or some of
Yeah,
people or some of
yeah, of course. Followed me on Instagram,
woo, woo,
of course, followed me on Instagram,
woo, woo.
last week, and that was huge for me. Um, feeling the vibe and actually feeling the vibe and actually seshing where it's like, okay, I sesh by myself, very welcoming and very positive, like the very welcoming and very positive, like the the way any industry really should be. And I was honestly kind of the way any industry really should be. And I was honestly kind
I would love to work with you on some things with I would love to work with you on some things with your marketing and it's awesome. It's primo.
I my husband might
And it's awesome. It's primo.
I my husband might be coming in. So
I'm
if
so
you need
sorry.
somebody.
I'm not sure. I dropped the but it's just been such a pleasure. I can't believe
magic sauce behind the scenes. So
okay.
I want to say my first official run was and I think it really just blew up. Hi man, and it was kind of a funny story, but I had got some seeds from. But yeah, so that was a really big new wave. I think that's when hydro really was at its peak. Juicy fruit just took over the market, and I just remember being a kid.
I'm at the gate growing. It was more
Different colors. They did have cell wall division. Yeah, so we did do that in soil. Oh yeah, yeah. Run under the Lux lighting. Run under the Lux lighting. Lux is a very intense, a
it's
hard
always
one to.
hard.
Yeah, it was hard, but she Lux is a very intense, a
It's
hard
always
one to.
hard.
Yeah, it was hard, but she learned it. Hours you don't have that versatility.
I love that you some of these things versus
But in terms of return on investment, it was a wash. Too hard or monster crop them, or even
do you
too hard or monster crop them, or even
do you believe kind of in
I believe me.
our stream keeps getting messed up, shared and have all of this knowledge shared together, but then you also are coming from different places and spaces and perspectives.
Can even get into to those reasons. Can even get into to those reasons as well. I have some crazy knowledge on just the structure.
I've been more and more curious about lately. Like I've never actually had
Like, I'm so excited because we say weeds different, and I'm like, this is the golden, the golden nug days that I hope that we can recreate and maybe bring back to life.
Oh
yes.
yeah, yeah. I got some old vault genetics that I bred. Some of them were happy accidents, and some of them were intentional. So just gonna bring back some older day, some older day flowers, man. And weed is very different. It's almost like it's like a stimulant in a sense.
Yes, you're right. Sorry, I was trying to multitask, but I wasn't. I was listening. I apologize. It is like a stimulant. It's over. I think it's like it used to not pull like that. When Mrs. Greens was talking about OGs and things like that, is they didn't have that same effect now. Is that you'll get in some of these genetics that I wouldn't say are supposed to be pulling that side. I don't know. Maybe 10 years ago. I'm saying if you were to smoke the same strain.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, when I remember being a kid, it was just so focused in your body. I mean, your body would vibrate. Now it's all in your dome. And I don't know. I feel like when I smoke weed these days, I feel like I constantly just want to move to where when I was younger, and it could just be we're getting older and it affects us differently, you know?
Could be
Uh,
definitely.
Life regardless.
yeah, to where, man, when I was a kid, I feel like I just wanted to melt in the couch, eat a fat bowl of cereal, and that was life.
Yes.
And then too, I feel like as clean as cannabis has got, I feel like it hurts the lungs more than ever.
Yes.
I
Or maybe
really.
we're
Oh, I'm so sorry. Say that one more time. I'm so sorry.
I said, or maybe we're just getting older.
I think. See, I love it though. This is awesome. If you guys wouldn't mind, is we can do it anytime. We could do it this week. Is I think we should do a pre-recorded one, and then that way this won't happen, and we will post it and launch it and make it awesome. but so they can really hear this not being cut out, because they say that they love what you guys are talking about and they know this is an interesting conversation. And I'm like, I know they're going to eat this up.
Get a better camera placement.
Better background at our home
Yeah,
studio.
so
No,
we'll
guys,
make it
you were
a
perfect. It was me dropping the ball. You guys did wonderful.
well,
Are-
thank
Thank you.
you. Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
we'll make sure that we create something that's awesome for your audience, and we'll have a little bit more time to sit here and dive more into just crazy details, and get more
Yes.
live with the chat. If people have some random questions, we can answer them. And
I would love that. I would absolutely love that. And we can make it a good chunk of time if you guys have time or whatever you need to do in between. But we could really do this where we could cover a lot. And I think it was such a pleasure to have you guys on. And I would love to actually dive deep, have some questions laid out together, see how you feel.
let's do it.
Let's do it. I think that's perfect.
Yeah, and we got a bunch of creative stuff happening too. We have a huge creative space that we're in the process of building out and moving into. So we're gonna have like a whole nice podcast studio. So maybe one day in the future we'll fly you guys on out and you can come check us out. We have one of the best views of the city.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, vice versa. I feel like your guys' studio sounds way nicer than ours, but you gotta come. You gotta come.
You know, a whole dispensary.
Let,
So
yeah,
Yeah,
you're
you
about
gotta
to
come
say
to the store. You gotta see it all.
let's
and
check
just
it
see it
out.
all.
Well, yeah, let's coordinate a day and let's drop some knowledge.
Gosh, thank you so much to both of you tremendously. And I really do apologize. I can't thank you
I
enough, Mrs.
apologize.
Greens. I will still try to fix this video tonight. And but we will redo this and we will make it just so clear, crystal clear. And I just I can't wait.
And I won't be late. I'm sorry.
You did
I was
nothing. You did nothing. That was
Yeah,
me
she
as
told me,
well.
she's like, yeah, I got the times mixed up, and I was like, well, let's set some lights up real fast so they can at least see you.
You know what? Listen, this is a treat
like,
show. We might not have the biggest audience, but we have one that loves and cares and is really into weed. You know, that's one thing I will say. These people are passionate listeners and a good squad.
Amazing.
So I
I
think
am one of them on your show, honestly. Like, I play it and
I hear her in the background. I will contest to that. She's telling the truth.
that was the nicest compliment and coolest. Honestly, the lady crowd is, it would just be wonderful to get tighter with you and build our relationship professionally all the things. Is I feel it's good to see the ladies growing. It is
it
really
is.
awesome.
It is.
Did she tell you a random side thought? I know we're gonna get to the end, but did she tell you that she really didn't smoke before she met me?
You tainted just kidding.
Yeah, I did. I
Oh,
mean, I kind of faintly.
faint.
I was like, that was his thing. I didn't, I was like, I
Yeah,
really didn't until
you,
after college. Yeah, and
you were
yeah. I
that
mean,
innocent.
yeah, she
yeah,
dabbled, but she
yeah.
was like completely against it. I remember
I wasn't against it. It tweaks me out. So I
yeah.
was like, it
Well,
wasn't for me. Like I let him, do his thing. That
Oh,
was
that
like,
is so cute.
Babe, I just get anxiety. It's just not for me. And I was like, look, everybody gets anxiety. I was like, when you're around the wrong friends and they're giving you the biggest dabs possible, of course you're gonna freak out. It's not gonna be fun.
I see why you guys got
That's
married.
it's not. There we go.
That
Um,
covers the. That's amazing. You're like,
but
listen.
yeah, and she slowly started getting into it, and then it just turned into her lifestyle. And then I was like, look, babe, I was like, you could do this on the internet. I was like, people love to watch this type of content. And I was like, we love to cook, we love to be
Oh,
adventurous as a
yes.
family, and this is all stuff that people just enjoy watching. The internet and especially Instagram is so saturated with just negative content and
Shit.
people just
yeah,
undressing themselves for easy views to
yeah,
where
Thank you.
yeah.
yeah, it's like we wanted, and she
Like as
takes
I'm smoking a blunt on the internet, but
at least you're
Listen,
not
we got
say
a
these and
sweater, okay? No,
so but
this is awesome.
and I
We're on the
think it's
same
just a
page.
good contribution to the internet. She makes good clean content that I think anybody
Classy.
can enjoy, you know.
That's what
So
I love your guys. Look, you guys have such a beautiful family, and I love what you guys are working with. And I think it's amazing to see a couple actually just like you guys. It's exceptional, and it's cool to see that you did get her into a place that I think growing cannabis I think is one of the most healing things and can create that bond to like making it not just a hustle, you know, where it really does become something totally different. And
Oh, she
as
bonds with her plants. Like,
Oh yeah,
oh man, we can
that's my
go.
room. You know,
Like
that's my
we're
place.
we're
Okay.
so upfront people. We can divulge into some stories, about plants and how much love she has for some plants.
let's do this. Yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to do this right. And
But
to
you're
give
like the same way, and I love that too. Like your killing story.
I
I
don't
was
know,
like, oh my
I'm
goodness,
a pretty
that's so.
angry cultivator now. I'm always like pissed off. I'm like, these goddamn russet mites. Like
Oh yeah,
aphids.
rusted mites.
Oh, just any. Honestly, is I specialize with pest and disease eradication for most of my career, and so I just like you do a lot of other things, but mainly like killing bugs. And you know, it used to be fun, and now I'm just like Satan. You will never leave. Like you will never leave. I don't.
Yeah, it's rough.
Sorry, I promise our plants aren't covered in bugs. I just really.
It
Anyways,
happens, you know,
It
it
happens to everybody,
happens, and
but
let's just talk about all of it. We're gonna have you guys come on so that there can be this beautiful, like sparkly everything, and then we'll have these dabbles of the hard stuff in between.
I
oh
love
yeah,
Instagram versus reality.
I
We got a
love it.
lot of that. I
See,
promise.
we need this though. That's all we're about on the treat show. Is I love to see passionate people and that really want to produce something that's safe to consume. And I can tell that you guys are like that though. Is you want a product that's like really healthy for you. Ultimately, like I think that's so
Oh
important
yeah.
though.
And I think a lot of people, so I know you had
No,
something to say. I
go
think
for
a lot of people really underestimate what changes in a plant by what you feed it. And the literally the structure, the molecule structures, like, we're real heavy in salts, and
Yeah,
salts aren't necessarily negative, but they're not the greatest. Like, if you want to just keep it simple. But I think people really underestimate, especially with some of these salts, they're synthesized salts. It's
definitely.
not natural compounds. These are 100% synthetic compounds that they're creating in some. I'm not speaking for every company, but a
You're
lot of
right though.
times, in order to keep it suspended, because you'll see a lot of complaints with salts is they'll coagulate and they'll clump up on the bottom of your reservoirs and stuff like that. Well, you have to use some type of catalyst to suspend it, and that changes the plant. Every chemical that you put into it changes it in
Gosh,
one way, shape, or form.
I think you guys both break these things down so well on where people can really relate and understand and eat this up because it's sometimes I think it's incredible some of these weed podcasts for sure, but sometimes they overhype these things where it's a really direct, simplified message, like you're saying, but it's very important. and, and I think to once you I guess like what we talked about, to what degree you're really trying to be involved in your garden, like what degree you're trying to really push your plants for what result. But I think once you get real into it, you're like, I want to know every single part to what this plant is metabolizing, how often and how frequently this is actually being absorbed. Why is this not being absorbed? Why is having an insect really putting you in a completely compromised situation? It doesn't matter the pest. It's like now you've got pathogens, you've got parasites, you've got all this shit that but I
it
think
all adds up.
And you got stuff that's,
yes,
inbreeding and recreating new things that we've never seen before, on a
absolutely.
microscopic level every day. I mean, that's just
Yes.
evolution. you
Yes.
know
Yes.
and again, just putting the safest products into your plant, that to your knowledge, and this is just to our
Yeah.
knowledge. I'm not a chemist, I'm not a chemical engineer. There's
You got
plenty
your
of
lady
people who
though.
scrutinize me and say you're wrong, and hey man, please let me know when I'm wrong and educate me. Don't grill me, just educate me, because I want to learn, I want to know the right way. And when it comes down to like health, is and one thing that I explained to her in the beginning is a lot of people are organic, 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 and like me, I'm an organic grower too, but my favorite suspension method is chlorine.
Gosh, yes. I love it.
You know, and what's amazing about chlorine is we have a receptor in our body for it. So it's naturally in our body. And our body can break it down. Our body can metabolize chlorine. Now, obviously, you can kill yourself with chlorine,
You
but
know,
to most
kill
people, when they
yourself.
hear chlorine, they think unhealthy, but it's probably one of the best ways to suspend a molecule and to have a plant completely metabolize it. And
Yeah,
that's where it touches base on how much is your plant metabolizing of what you're putting into it. So, man, we can,
impeccable.
we can go miles a minute with this stuff.
We're doing
I
it.
hate it looks like our connection actually got a lot better.
Oh, well, I'm so glad because now they'll be like, yes, the most valuable, or I mean, not the most valuable, but this little chunk of information, though, I feel like is like where people will write it down, jaunt it real quick, you know?
I
That's
was
what
gonna
I
say,
meant.
what
Sorry.
I'm about to say, I'm going to smoke some flower here for you guys.
Well, cheers to both of you. And I really
How do
do.
you feel? Sorry, I don't mean to digress off a topic. How do you feel about dabbing solvent versus like rosin?
That's a really good question that nobody asked me because I smoke blunts all the time. Like, but
Thank you.
That's right. Yeah,
but
yeah.
I will say that I definitely do take a dab or two when the time is right. And I like to be extremely picky. As I used to produce for Harmony extracts, and this is weird, but it's like a hash only exclusive company, and I used to be like the head operator for their cultivation teams, but they that was like a time where I was only dabbing, and I guess the hash that was considered live rosin and things like that were just coming just coming out to say, like, I know that sounds weird because
I know it's crazy because it
the
was
tech,
only flour, and it was crazy when Kush even came
yes,
around the street, and now it's like you can have whatever
Oil took
whatever
over so
oil,
fast.
that
diamonds.
that's what it was, is the bubble hat. That's why I feel like this process is so old, but it's not old to anybody, like squishing or pressing. Anyways, is I feel like I like to still roll a lot of this shit up. So the problem is consistency for me. More than anything is I'm like, okay, can I touch this with my fingers? Because I'm a sloppy, fast roller. Is I'm like, I got to get this done, and there's no class in it, and so I try to find. So, anyways, the rosin I found is a lot easier for me to roll with like weed into something, and
Uh-huh.
still have a really nice taste or flavor, and it makes my like stuff burn a lot longer, obviously. But that's what I'm trying to get ripped. That's like my Friday night splurger. But I would say when I'm trying to take a quick dab is, I guess, anything that's solventless. I mean, I really hate to say it, but it just, you can put anything in there that you think tastes good, and I probably am going to think that it has a good flavor of some kind.
That's a good viewpoint, 100%. The only reason why I ask is because I've dabbed a long time. I think I've been dabbing pretty much solely for almost a decade now. Um, Pretty much, I ignore flower. This is the first flower I've smoked in at least over a month. And the
Yeah.
only time I smoke flowers when a really good, flower comes across and like, man, like this blueberry. It's an old strain that I really like, so I smoked it like a month ago. So the only reason why I asked is because, solventless has become such a huge commodity in the industry. And I feel like a lot of people don't understand when you're putting heat and pressure on, nugs or trichomes if you're washing, if you're just, because back when rosin first came out, we were just straight putting nugs in a hair straightener.
Exactly. Exactly.
Pressing
That was
them together, getting it off of the wax paper, not realizing there's aluminum coming off of that wax paper that we're dabbing, and
getting all pissed at my brothers. Like, give me my
so
shit
oh yeah,
back.
because they're breaking your $200 straightener because it has the best even heat distribution. Oh yeah,
Exactly. Exactly. They took out the chi. They took out the chi.
Yeah. So, but you know, rosin is just an interesting subject because, you know,
It's
heat and
true.
pressure, and you're literally extracting everything that the plant has to offer.
So when you touch on that, sorry, I misunderstood. Is because when you say that, honestly, the reason I don't smoke a lot of hash, period, is because of that. Is I unless it's my own, which we have done a couple rounds in the last 12 months, but it was fresh frozen, and honestly, we didn't get to keep it. Like it sold whatever. So I feel short lived. And I think when it comes to buying product in the market is I've worked behind the scenes with a lot of these guys, and it's not that I don't trust. I don't know. Is when you look at these systemic diseases alone, and even though we have parts per billion testing, they're not testing for like fusarium or botrytis or, you know, these things that if you are consuming those residuals, I think that's why people do have derogatory reactions to cannabis sometimes. And even powder mildew, like 99% of okay, I can't go that high. It's like,
Powder
but
mildew.
yeah,
Oh,
it,
oh man.
it's just covering the market as far as the shit that's getting extracted. Nobody's like really extracting their primo flower. They'll
No.
say it. They'll say
You
it.
taste it too. It's
Yeah, you
just,
can taste it right
ugh,
away.
Yeah, it's got
And
that
you know,
gross.
moldy dabs and stuff.
remediation has
Yes.
really killed it too because people think they can remediate it, then extract it, and they're getting a
Yep.
better product. They just make it taste like plastic.
Oh, you're right. And like these gross, like at that point, like you're saying, you're isolating. The thing I don't like as well is like you're saying pesticides is there's a lot of pesticides that you're approved for use of up until the day of harvest, and they're technically organic, but those residuals would still be there, right? And even though the label says that you can use this, you probably shouldn't. But I've seen people definitely do whatever. And I think that when you think about it, like you're like, oh my gosh, you're isolating these pesticides where it's we do have testing for pesticides, but they're testing for specific pesticides. So if you're using something that we're approved to use, that's not going to surface. You're not going to fail your test. You're going to pass your test because they're not looking for that. But it's like, but that doesn't mean that you're consuming a safe product. And
That too, and they're when they approve these products, they approve it for safer consumption without heat, flame. You
Or
know,
or it's like, you're allowed to do a day to, up until harvest, and that's just your flowers just covered.
it's
right,
covered.
you
It's
know,
just gross.
some of these molecules don't emit in time. And then, too, again, you know, I think a lot of these approval methods are just kind of one off. And I think they're just tailored to some of these big corporations. So they're able to still use these easy fly by night products because some of these products that are available for use, I'm not going to just start dropping names necessarily, but you know, when you apply heat and you apply pressure or you start extracting them and you're exposing them to different, you know, oxidation levels and different solvents,
Yes.
you're changing it. It's no
Yes.
longer the same approved thing. Even if we're talking nanos, you're
Yes.
still consuming it. It's in your lungs,
And
you
you're
know, and
having
that's, oh,
Oh
go
no,
ahead.
I'm so sorry. No, I'm so sorry. You go. So
You
sorry.
kind of lost train of thought. So,
It's not
Gosh,
even fun.
I just apologize. I've never heard
no,
somebody really talk about that. It was a concern for me with like even the bearings on these machines, these closed looped machines. Like even when they're changing them out, like years later at best. And it's like it's supposed to be like every couple runs, or every couple months. Let's just be generous. And yeah, exactly.
if
And
they
it's
want to
like
spend the money.
yes, and then you have an e-nail on a titanium nail that they say is fully titanium. Like all these things, you have a shitty dabber. I'm just saying from the times that we're talking of
That's what I'm telling
2014.
you now.
So but
So
there's a difference. So medical grade titanium and
Medical
some
grade.
cheap titanium, those are
That's
two completely different
that's a
porous
good point.
levels.
That was a very that was a very good
So the only
distinguishing
reason why
point.
we use this really old titanium basket, which I know we've gotten plenty of comments on the internet about, is the taste and the flavor. I promise
Yes.
you, I will bring this nail on a setup
Yes.
and you will dab out
Yes.
of it. You're just gonna be like, oh my God, that's probably the best tasting dab. Whether it's because it's 15 years old and veteran and there's just nothing chemically left in it, I don't know. But yeah, it's just
Sounds
there for some
amazing though.
reason it doesn't hurt my lungs. Like quartz, I feel like it really hurts my lungs. It's
Oh,
really hard to get that perfect vaporization.
Mm.
And then this little tiny basket, it also limits me from going globtastic and killing myself for the day, and leaves me to do more micro dabs and instead of just getting chotched and fried in one go.
that's the one thing about dabbing that I do love is like, it's like very clear of a high for the most part, I'd say, and it's like short lived if you're not glob squatting, like you said. Like otherwise, but I feel like the blunts sometimes they'll just be creeping up on me. I'll be like, I'm not high, and then I'll go try to talk to somebody, and I'm like, oh shit, that weed was better than I thought.
Yes.
That's
Like,
how,
I'm like, why would I think I could do that? Like,
I,
after I smell, like, why am I talking
dude,
to these
she
people?
makes me laugh so much because she's such an intelligent, like she's very quiet and reserved, and like that's why it's kind of funny that she's such a good social media presence because she's honestly a very shy, reserved
Yes.
person. She'll say
I'm
just
a
the
hermit.
yeah, she'll
That's what
say
I'm
the
good
dumb,
at.
outlandish stuff and like just make me just laugh to my core. Like I got this famous picture of her just straight passed out on the couch, just fried off of some edibles, and that's just what I love
I
about her.
posted it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she actually did post it,
But
and
oh,
it's just like, it reminds me because like I'm the person like I could just dab till I'm blue in the face. It really doesn't faze me much. I'll get a headache before anything.
yeah.
And then I just look at her just getting just hella fried. It just makes me relive, those days too, all over.
Oh,
my actions have always gotten bad though. Like that's always been my thing. And even my sister like says that like when we even first started dating, the first few times we smoked, before I really started smoking, my sister was like, dude, you could just look in Nicole. She just looks high.
Oh yeah, she looks fried.
oh, that is so
And like, but she's
awesome.
such a smoker too. So like, man, I mean, she'd be smoking some loud ass shit. So it's just, we'll go to like the school or something, and the teacher's
Okay,
looking at,
not that.
no, not that bad, but I just use it as a funny
I get it,
reference
dude. I
more
get
than
it.
anything, and it's just like, oh, what's that
Yeah,
smell?
I mean, do you ever have that problem though? Like,
All the
I feel
time.
like one of
No.
the things when you start, even growing, you don't realize how bad you smell, and
It
it's just so
sticks.
no, you're so used to just smelling all the time, and then you're like, wow, I just can't believe I ran inside the bank, and
Oh, my
I got
parents get
You're
pissed
all
because
smiling, ear to ear, like, damn, you
I'm just
smell really
this
fresh.
tiny 5 foot lady
oh,
walking, just completely obliterating the bank.
I'm here to deposit my money, sir.
I feel like that just makes everybody happier. That's the way I look. Like you're donating to the crowd. You're like, you're welcome.
Yeah. But you're in a
I
different
was gonna say you're
atmosphere.
in Colorado, yeah.
Oh no,
People up there are a little more veteran, no?
I feel like it depends on like the county you're in. Honestly, it's a vibe everywhere. But I feel the thing that's Denver, you're good. You're good. They're doing way too much shenanigans that nobody's gonna give a shit that you're smoking. But I think they, um, damn it. See, this is my high moment. I totally forgot where I was even going with this, and it was something ridiculous about. Anyways,
Judge, people being judgmental out there. You were like, it's by the county.
oh, yeah, sorry. Is I feel like yeah, downtown Denver, it's cool. Like sometimes cops will pass me, but I feel like I've just never cared. Like I was trying to remember. Like Jason and I were talking about this because I've always smoked with my family, but nobody else smokes weed really in my family. And like he's just like, it's so weird that you smoke blunts with your mom, and I'm like not with her. She doesn't hit it unfortunately, but she like brings me my ashtray, and it's like super nice. And she'll like my dad will sit there, and Jason's like, this is so weird, and I feel like, and I feel
It's just you.
Yeah,
yes,
I
I
you
love
just realized I was like, I don't think I've ever even Kim Painter like so see the J Lo perfect like I would go to Arizona where it was definitely legal when I would go there and I would light up in her car. I was a lot younger and just didn't think about it, but I'd light up in the back seat of her car and she'd be like, Jay, like, what are you doing? Like, gonna make me go to felony? Like, oh, she'd be freaking out. But I've always smoked. It's hard for me to not. I just don't even look at it like it's a problem. I'm like, if I don't acknowledge it, they won't acknowledge it. That's just like it doesn't work all the time, but sometimes.
Hey,
Right.
it's a good way
Then
to
they're
think.
not for you. Then that's fine.
Yeah, you just gotta
Yeah,
keep swimming, you
you
know.
know, people are coming around, but you still get judged out here. It's still
It's
creeping
conservative.
into the industry. It's like I'm almost jealous because when you go into Michigan, which was a way more, I think, like they look down upon it, their culture and just the people in Michigan, like the older generation.
Definitely.
So it's just kind of crazy how accepting when you walk into Michigan, everyone's pretty much accepting of it now, and I feel like Chicago's just a little behind.
I To me, I think Chicago has this very classy, this classy vibe going. You know, when I think about
Depending on
Chicago,
where you're
Oh
at.
yeah, it can get real classy. And it can get real
You
good.
one block over it'll be
I,
classy, and then next block over you'll find some chalk lines on the ground.
I'm telling you,
But
Denver.
yeah, Chicago has a good mixing. I guess a melting bowl. I was gonna say
Oh,
salad
that's
bowl, mixing bowl of people.
it's a
So
good bowl.
you're gonna find a lot of
It's a
different
baseball.
flocks of life, and
I love
like not to point out anybody specifically, but there are like certain people who just they don't really approve of weed, and
Like my family.
right. So
that.
like her
Oh
family, they
dear.
don't
Oh,
approve of it at all. They
Mm-mm.
really hate that she does this on social media. She'll get texts all the time. Why would you post something like that on the internet? And it's just like it's just weed. It's legal. It's like alcohol. You can go to the store. You can buy it. It's
Yeah.
just that
It's like
generation.
we're just
I
so
know.
different, and it's like you just if you don't it's like to me, like I think you're crazy. Like you think I'm crazy when I'm looking at you crazy, you
Oh,
know?
our parents still be trying to get us to switch careers. They're like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" We're like, "I'm sorry, you're still sad. I'm sorry, it still makes you sad." Like,
Are you
uh,
sure you want to do this? Even though you've had great success on it, are you sure?
Right.
there's Debbie Downers, I'll tell you what, sometimes. But I do think
Oh,
that
yeah.
it's kind of weird to me, though, with what you guys are talking about, how there's still these areas, though, that really aren't okay with it. Like, the reason I say this is like you go to these certain counties, and for instance, my old neighbors had a serious fucking problem with weed. And like, I was like, what do you mean? I live in a college town. I live downtown. Like, why do you even know anything about this? Like, what? And no, they did. They voiced this all the time. And I feel some people get really angry around here. They just get so, they get angry.
You
But
know what's
Right. They
crazy
do.
though
Like the
is
smell just drives them nuts.
right, but they'll get angry, but they'll
yes,
sit there and get drunk till 4 or 5 in the morning, and that's just
Seriously.
okay.
what is
It
with
doesn't make
this?
sense.
Or, like smoke
Yes,
cigarettes. Like, why can you stand in front of me and
I can
smoke a
smell that,
cigarette, but
you
I
know.
can't smoke
exactly.
weed? Like,
I
what?
think
It's the same smell.
This is right. We both smell.
Mine might linger a little longer though.
But I admit I
I
smell.
like
Okay.
that. I feel like if you have a problem with the way I smell, you should stand 20 feet away from me. Like wherever
Bingo.
I'm standing, you just stand further away. Like, and then it solves both of our problems. You know, it's like immediately.
Right.
It's like that's a wrap.
100%.
Right.
But you know what? Maybe it's like if you were to smoke a joint, you'd be happy like me too, and we wouldn't have this problem.
I do feel that way too. I do
Yeah.
realize that I think I was one of Colorado's. I wish I was lying about this, but I think I was one of Colorado's first DUIs for weed, and I was actually sober. That's why I smoke weed all the time now. Is I'm like, you know what, fuck it. But they hit me at a sober time, complete purification, and but my car smelled like weed. I worked at a grow. I just harvested. I did have
Yeah,
weed,
get out of that,
but
right?
I'm sorry. Oh, you know what? I wish I did. I wish I did. They gave me a DWAI, but this is
Oh,
when I was
goodness.
22, so I feel like
So
it's
you
been
Green
didn't care.
done.
You're like,
Okay.
it's
whatever. I
been a
need to just
minute. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's dead to all of us. That's what they
um,
say, but I think
I
I,
don't know if it's that far, but
you
we'll
never
say
know.
that.
Yeah. But I think that when I look, like people will be like, Jay, you can't get in trouble for weed in Colorado. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, I've been arrested for weed and something with my vehicle or something with what I'm doing or something with something like every year since forever. Just all the time. They're just like, hey, what are you doing with weed? And I'm
Oh
like,
yeah, there's regulations to it, and some
very
some
rude.
like you said, they don't just approve of it, they don't like it, so they'll harass you for it. At the end of the day, I mean, if someone views it as harassment or not. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same thing out here. You'll find all different types of walks of life. Like in Chicago, in the actual city, they're a little bit more accepting of it. It's
That
a lot more fly by night, over there. But when you start getting out into like the what we call the suburbs, it really just depends on what the city council looks like, how they want to structure their township, whether they want to even have a dispensary there. Like we have one town that they didn't allow a Walmart in the town because they thought it was going to attract the wrong type of people. And that's
you're
like
like, I'm just trying to get some damn groceries.
right, and they finally approved a Walmart and they put it on like the most outer edge of their town they possibly could think of.
This is Boulder. This is Boulder, Colorado, guys. This is Boulder, Colorado. And it bleeds into some other parts. But it's awesome. There's some pros and cons, but it's wild.
Everywhere.
Well,
But
yeah.
it's an interesting industry. I really wish we had it to where you can actually see the product before you buy it, because like when we go into a dispensary, you're looking at a kiosk, and most of the
Ooh,
time, and this is where I think we're getting into a taboo subject here. I feel like this
I'm
shouldn't
ready.
be. They should not be able to display a picture that's not actually
Yes.
what you're buying. So they'll display this beautiful looking bud, and then you're getting some nasty crumbs in a jar that's not even green.
So
You'll get some.
we hand weigh our weed still. We're like still one of the very few in Denver that do it. There's a lot of pre-pack in Denver still. And we sell pre-pack of other people's companies, but like 710 people like them. I don't know, but I think we hand weigh our stuff so like exactly what you're saying so that you can see it. You can see your nugs being weighed. You can see all the stuff happening. And you can kind of be picky. You can be like, I don't want that. I want this.
But like that's really respectable, because some people lose touch, you know, as time goes on with their craft. And
Yes.
you're still taking the time to be like, this is my product. I want you to know what I can grow, what I can produce, because so many people are just losing sight with that. And they're just like, here, take it, and then you're just,
Mass
um,
production,
right.
Like
Dispensaries bring it out, they're chipping you, or they're just giving you shake and they're showing you a pretty picture. And that's where,
driving the market down.
right.
you're totally right though. Is I see them they annihilated Colorado in that way, honestly. It's like Colorado used to have primo weed. I'm not saying like it was good. And it's like and you can find it kind of everywhere. Now you got to be very it's really far and few between, honestly. I'm saying consistently or something even close to that. But I think across the United States or even some of these like little consulting jobs or jobs Jason's done is it's sad that it's like all these people that failed here or like were the biggest hustlers that tanked the market or whatever here all raced to all these other states. And I feel like they just like kept this like bad practice and we're trying to really put it on blast. I'll be real about that in the industry and to really be like, let's step up as both sides, customers and you know, as people that are actually doing this and why you actually care about your plants and what time and energy you're putting into your garden. And that's what makes really good weed. All this other stuff that Instagram filters through and is selective about or promoting or whatever, that is not what makes good weed. Like, I've walked plenty of these people's grows that have a great name on the gram, and it's like their shit sucks. And it's
Yes.
like,
And you're just, oh,
Well, then too, it's like out here, the hard part is we can't see, smell it, or nothing. So most of the bags out here, they're moldy. The
oh,
mold is a big one
mold,
because it sits on
mold,
the shelf for
mold.
a long time, and you don't know until you buy it. And it's just like you expect me to smoke this, then you go and try to do the exchange all the time. The dispensary starts looking at you all crazy. So it's just a real wild law. And it's really bad when you get concentrate that tastes and smells moldy.
Yeah.
Like,
And it's all the
man,
time now.
and it's so
God, that's
consistent out
sad.
here. It's really sad, and it's all these big contenders, and that's why people who really push for this federal legalization. I just didn't agree with it because again, you're going to degrade the product.
It's true.
You know, I don't know if you were a supporter of it or not,
I'm
but
not a supporter of it.
all right, all right. And
Trap.
yeah, it's a trap. It's a
It
really
is a true.
horrible, horrible trap that got lobbied by these big, big contenders that had the money to buy it out pretty much. And it's just a sad day for cannabis, unfortunately. We're going to start seeing some of the worst changes I think we've ever seen in the industry. And I'm not even fully in it like you guys are, but I just see it. I from an underground grower that kind of, was here before the industry became like the industry. You just see it coming. You see these dirty moves. It's going to be like the tobacco company. Can you go grow tobacco in your backyard?
See, you're right.
No,
No,
you cannot.
no. That's
And that's going to be
I,
the same thing. Once they patent these strains and they start patenting genetics,
Hmm.
yep.
it's going to be the same thing. You cannot go take a seed out of a pepper and start a pepper farm. They're going to
That's
shut you down.
that's exactly what we're med. I know that we're way too far past this point, but I just wish that we could go back to meds. So forget that. I would vote for it all day, every day, like as many years as it
Seriously.
took. Is it was such a better. Even our testing wasn't as rigorous. It sounds ass backwards, but it wasn't. We like there was such better weed and there was still testing, but it was like so much safer. You were allowed to use so many products that were actually organic. Now you can't mix your own like mix of anything. It has to be a labeled
Yeah.
pesticide or insecticide. You have to have your applicator's license. You have to go through this little test. You have to go through your annual inspection. Like it's like a whole thing that doesn't seem like a whole thing, but you're like, hopefully I pass today. And
But that's just crazy as a licensed grower to have to go through all of those hoops and still, feel the struggle, still go through the same bottlenecks to where it's like, people like us or like how I used to be is, man, I would throw up my facilities and like when I would do big rooms, the largest, grow, 'cause it's about 10 years now, so I don't feel bad divulging some of this, but I think when I was at 100 lights max,
that's
spread
awesome.
across various locations, and like, dude, we would FPL panel them up, white panel the whole room. We would
Yeah.
epoxy the floors, make them as clean as sterile as we could, and we would just produce great, clean products all the time. And to hear someone like you got to go through all of this crazy stuff, and it's just like a lot of times you can treat these pesticides with stuff that really isn't that harmful, but it's not approved for you.
That's what it's crazy to me. Excuse me, because it's like backwards, than what people think is. I don't know, but I also think that it's so cool to hear that you actually put money in like cleanliness efforts, all of that into your setup though, even that long ago though, for reals, and to have that many lights during that time. It was such a different time to be pushing 100 lights. That's pretty.
We would go so far to like I would pay these guys to go at nighttime to dig out at the foundation to splice into the electrical lines, and they would like resop, put the original grass back and everything. And like there's a crazy story that, if you remember this, we'll tell you in person that just happened to us recently that made me really think about that
Oh
time.
yeah, yeah.
And it just makes me think of, if they really knew who I was back then, but just really couldn't do anything because, yeah, 100 lights at that time was an incredible footing to do. It was
Yeah,
in various locations, not one. I don't think anybody would get away with that electric bill or
you're
taking that
right.
amount. Uh,
Put
but
your own
yeah,
glass.
borrowing. Sorry, yeah.
That is. Did
But
you have HPS like triple X's by any chance?
so yeah, we were doing Raptors back then. Those big, fat, all enclosed Raptors,
Yes, all the
really
ducting.
huge, obnoxious, loud fans. Uh,
They had like the Phantom Ballast.
yep, yep, the Phantom Ballast. And there was these Chinese ones that we started getting, and we started experimenting one, but one actually lit fire. And that was
Yes.
that was a horrible experience. Thankfully, we were there and we were able to manage it, but like it was crazy because it was like a rental property, and we had to redo like the whole subfloor. And yeah, it was nuts. That was a
Oh,
really
That's a
crazy
crazy OG
experience.
grower story.
oh,
And man, my old partner,
oh,
by my chances watching this, he'll probably remember that story and think that's nuts. But yeah, and just like the icebox coolers, I don't know if you remember that. Having to run it through the chiller box, your intake to cool the lights down, and having the water
definitely.
for it. So I mean, just real kind of OG stuff. And yeah, I cared a lot about cleanliness. I think that was really important to me because I lost a few of my first runs to bugs too.
Oh,
Bugs were hard. Once you would get it, they would spread room to room. So I learned really quick. Wash everything down. Cleanliness is your number one key. If you're going to focus on the two things that I could ever recommend, your climate and cleanliness. You can
s-
get away with half-assing a lot of other things.
so true, so perfectly put. It's it's crazy how rapidly those things. It, I think it's an amazing feeling if you can kill a room and actually sterilize everything. It does feel good. I know it's sad, but you're like, God, this feels good. It's like super clean. But when you have to
Starting
keep genetics going and you know you have these issues and you know that there's just shenanigans ahead, if you want to keep and preserve these genetics, you're like, I'm gonna see
you
you.
know, and that's where it's like you want to preserve the genetics, and that's where you're kind of thankful for tissue culture.
Oh, you're right. Such a
I would
beautiful thing.
At that rate, I would just tissue culture. Yes, you're going to get some change when you regrow it. Obviously, the environment might be a little different, but the best thing that I've learned in the industry is when you see a problem, just get rid of it. Don't let it destroy the rest of your hard work, especially in a mother room, like I rather sacrifice 10 mothers instead of 50 that I've worked the last 5, 8 years, working on to get to this point. Um,
No,
you
you're
know,
absolutely right. I think, yes, I think that those are really important things that people, I don't know, I don't think they think about. It's funny because Big Farm said he's never dreamed of having 100 lights. And it's funny because you
oh,
think how much
oh
work
man,
that really is to
ton.
maintaining that, and yeah, all the parts that go with that is
Well, 100 lights sounds like a lot when you think about it, but it's 5 rooms. You know,
just
it's it's hard that they were all in different locations, but
mm,
back then you got to think you didn't have the social media. When you had a tight knit group of friends, you had a lot of people that were willing to help you, and they weren't selling you out. They weren't taking pictures of your stuff and not realizing that there's metadata attached to it. So when they
yeah.
post it, somebody can see exactly where that was posted. So
God, that's
I think it
crazy.
was just a different day, and I was really young too. I mean,
The time.
I was a very young kid that just knew a lot of people who have done it a long time. I mean, the person who had taught me some of the good tricks that I know, I mean, he's an old man that grew up in the mountains in California, grows some of the
Gosh,
best outdoors to this day.
yeah.
That I just still enjoy to smoke, and honestly, I wish I talked to him a little bit more these days. We kind of drifted apart, lost some contact, so
No time
hopefully
is
we'll
right.
but yeah, I think it's just a different time. But yeah, I digress a little bit. But yeah, it's 5 rooms, and if you think, back then we didn't defoliate, I think, as much, and we didn't do as much tender love and care as we do today. So your time spent in those rooms was a little bit more minimal.
Ooh, I think that's even awesome to hear you point out because I definitely scrog and all those different techniques I think weren't practiced across such a general population. Like there's a lot of people that that run a sea of green system of one way or another. I think
Hmm.
it's cool to hear you talk about that. Yeah, we're gonna have to dive into so many grow questions that I'm gonna actually sit down now and put together because you're so knowledgeable, both of you though. And I think it'd be
Thank you.
so. Oh, thank you. I think it
I'm
would
so
be.
lucky to have someone to learn from. I'm so lucky to have him to to learn from, and
And dude, there's just so
really
much
guide
that we could
me.
learn from you because,
Oh
I come from an underground basis. When that comes to like license and mainstream, what I call mainstream growing, I'm kind of blind to it. When people tell me some of the hoops they got to go through, it's just like, it's a big shock to me.
Oh, I
Or
think
he's like
that's
never
nice.
grown up with LEDs before,
Yeah.
so that's even something that's
I've been a Lux fan since they've
yes.
launched as
So
a company. And Trapper Lux, if you ever watch this, yeah, I mean that, and I ran a ton of Lux lights too. I didn't have quite as many Lux lights. I think I only had like 25 or 30.
It's a big
We're down to
investment.
just survivors, but yeah, yeah. And and to this day, I still will say that's probably the best light that was ever produced in the industry, especially when they started producing their own bulbs. Even though I know there were some hiccups, just the results, man.
My I was actually sponsored by Lux and Athena like 4
Wow.
years ago. But Lux I really loved. Like it was actually I redid a woman's attic grow with even their clone lights, and like I really liked pushing them in like small spaces and big spaces because they were just badass. Like you said, you could manipulate a lot of parts of their lights for like you could literally use one of those lights to cover such a big speck of plants if you were keeping a library, and between like adjusting whatever. I think
Yeah,
is awesome. And
even just between the two Calvins of bulbs that they offered,
yes, you're absolutely right. And I think the fixtures were expensive, and that's when Gavita and them were pretty like close, I would say, on
they were like
people's.
real neck and neck. They were kind of fighting, and
Yeah,
the only thing that I will say, the biggest advantage that they had over Convita, especially in the ceramic metal haloid, that was like what I really loved about them.
the
They're double
ceramic.
ended. Is the
Oh,
heat output is minimal. I
oh, you're
mean,
right.
dude, you can be running in a tent, and we do it now. You run four lights, and you can walk and manage to be in that tent. It's not overbearing. You don't need crazy, airflow and air conditioning to try to keep your temperatures from roasting.
You are
So I think
right.
that huge advantage to Lux, and it was sad to see them get bought out by Hawthorne and
It
pretty much
sucks.
blacklisted and shelved. Um, Man, just sad times, dude. It honestly, when we first started talking about herb growing, it was hard for me to get back into it because I was like, babe, my light is gone.
You're like, I can't get my light. I know that
My
feeling.
light is gone. I've that's what I've grown for so long. I've grown on that platform for so long. I know like the plants, like the seeds that I've kept in the genetics that I've loved to run. Especially like slurricanes and stuff like
Oh,
that.
that's
They
cool.
just like to grow under those lights. They really like the environment and the spectrum that they were giving off. So LED. I'm excited to see what it'll produce, but who
I think
knows?
you're absolutely right, and I think it's only gonna get better over time. Like you hope.
Well, yeah, I mean, the energy savings, again, heat footprint, you don't have to run as much air conditioning. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm excited to see what it'll produce. I know they've come a long, long way. So,
I love that. I love that you guys are fans of them, honestly. I think they do cool shit. It's one of my favorite lights, too, of all time. I am a big fan of 315s because I do like heat, but it's also because I was like growing in cold spaces in Colorado and just weird things. But I feel like I have adapted. We're using grower's choice. Our commercial grow is all grower's choice. I think it's been
okay.
the, and I like, I like different things about both of them. I don't know. I don't know. Is I want to still see more out of LEDs personally.
Yeah, I definitely do, and that's why I think that's why I am so kind of excited to experience LEDs because I want to see firsthand for myself just where they're at these days. I know they've come a
You're
long
right.
way, so I want to, and we're able to stack them up side by side. I still have some Lux lights that we're still actively running, and
That's
I want to
awesome.
see how they do and stack up, and when the day comes and I'm willing to convert fully over, well. Hopefully, I know that the energy savings is really the biggest reason why people convert over to LED.
It's true. I guess if you're running, It gets in a weird line too, though. It's like if you're still running like 150 of them in per room or something like that, then you're like, the utility bill is actually not preserving as much as we think. Like the AC unit, this is all running opposite, like whatever room is going on. Anyways, you realize the calculations, you're like, they lied to us. They lied to us.
They were right to us.
It's like, just
Still
And
damn
see,
busting
it.
my
it's all stuff that I would love to know, and because again, it's just in real world experience, especially like somebody that's trying to get into the industry, they get consulted on LED.
Well, I definitely think that's what's weird too. Is I even told Jason is our building has really high ceilings and they're running LEDs like everybody else. And I was like, I would never put LEDs here. I was like, this is awesome. I was like, these high ceilings are like badass. Like I would have DEs all day, and like I would be definitely hitting up Gavita for like. I did not like Phantom's version of the DE, but I ran them, and I feel like Gavita though. I feel like it was the shit. I was like, I want to like hit up Rare Dagnus and be like, I know you have some in a cubby closet somewhere. Give me these.
Dude, you
And
know where you will find some? Amazon.
Amazon is like amazing for everything. Just read
Dude,
your
you'll
mind
still
now.
find websites on Amazon too. It's crazy.
Really? Well,
Very
guys,
far and few.
I love that. I think that we should wrap it up for the
You're gonna
evening.
be like, "Hey, what are you doing? Why did you even say that right now?"
No, because I
It's all
love
right.
it, because I could talk to you guys all night. But I want us to have a beautiful, clean interview because so the chat can see all these things that you guys are gonna just crush with all this information. But
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. And again, I mean, I'm
thank you
still
for
learning
working for
and
us too with our schedules, and us going back and
true.
forth because and me being late again.
oh, whatever. No, thanks for working with my shitty podcast. I'm sorry about my internet connection. I will call. I will call. I will
I would
download.
Okay,
call.
I
we have
will.
a lot of things we're gonna make too. So whenever you get there, we're ready. It's okay.
You know what?
There's no
You're not gonna believe me, but we have a studio, and we actually are supposed to have nice computers. I'll show you. They look the part. They look the part. It's all lies. Once again, Apple is a liar.
Yeah,
We don't have Apple really. Our phones, but the computers, yeah, we're
yeah,
not.
I'm a PC guy. I rather just build my PCs because I'm a studio guy. So I rather control the parts that I'm putting in
Yeah.
there, the communication between the parts, the RAM, the CPU, the motherboard.
That's what I'm
Um,
talking about.
yeah,
I can't
because
do it
again,
though.
you can optimize.
I'm
Yeah, you
sure your
can.
husband though would
I
be
But
was
I'm
like,
okay.
telling you,
shit.
yeah,
That's
YouTube.
He would.
YouTube is your best friend.
I saw the rainbow like cool light up situation and the different. I don't know. I was like, all of it, just you can put in a basket and hope for the best. I guess YouTube, like you said. Anyways, I might. I'll step it up. I'll step it up. But we'll fix this, and we're gonna do this ASAPO. I
Let's
think.
get it. We're gonna get it. Yeah, we'll be a lot more prepared as well, and
No, you
Yes.
guys were
we're gonna just knock
wonderful.
it out the park.
All right.
We
Well,
just get like little table buzzer, like my turn, and they press down.
Oh my gosh. I feel like, yes, I'll do this way better. I will do this way better for you guys.
Well, we'll do it way better too. Yeah, because this was I was late, rescheduled.
Just got done dabbing too extra high, like, hey, I'm late. I'm like, all right, got you.
All
I'll go
right.
through the lights.
I didn't. I
Well,
like just went to go sign on. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go sign on to YouTube on, so I'm prepared. And then I saw you were live, and I was like, what?
listen, I'm
Whoops,
never
don't
on
even.
time. I'm never on time, and I've been trying to be like on time lately. So it wasn't you. Usually you would have came on at the perfect time.
Okay, great,
Perfect.
perfect. Thank you. That makes me
Well, yeah,
feel
just keep
better.
in touch. Whenever you're ready, we'll be ready, and we'll make
Yeah.
something great of it. I'll
You
bust
guys,
out some nice glass. We'll take some dabs together. Come on, you got to take some dabs with me.
I'll do it. I'll get out the
Mhm.
Puffco. I'll get my
We're all
like
gonna take some
assortment.
hookah. Yeah,
Okay,
we'll get some
Let's do it.
flavors.
let's do it.
You guys, thank you so much again. And we'll put a nice description still, and I will seriously text you tomorrow and see if we can get something scheduled. Yeah, ASAP, like I said, and
Yes,
do it
we're
the
we're
right
for
way.
it.
Yeah, let's
Uh,
do it. Yeah, we
Thank
won't
you.
be on a laptop either, you
Yeah, I'm
know,
so
so
sorry.
it'll be so much
Better
easier.
lighting.
No, this is gonna be wonderful. We gotta. All right. Well, I hope that you guys have a beautiful rest of your evening, and I shall see you very soon. Blessed
We'll
rest
see.
of your week.
Of course, likewise. Yeah, I got a busy rest of the week, so does she.
Now,
She
happy
lost.
Halloween
Oh gosh,
too.
happy Halloween. I'm so sorry.
It's spooky season. It hasn't felt this spooky this year. Unfortunately, it's very sad to say because we're
Normally
the
we
spooky.
decorate and we
Yes.
go extra hard, but just time has been so limited.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we have like we have 16-foot phantom and a huge giant werewolf, but that's it.
That is incredible. I am so
Well, this is
jealous.
just this
She's
year.
like that so
That's only
dope.
this year. Like we usually have a whole like.
Yeah, like man, we
You
usually
guys have
do it.
more
Yeah,
than that?
yeah.
Usually?
Oh yeah. Oh
Stop it. That's why you had to like let the neighbors stand a chance this year. They were like, please, guys, let us. But then you got the
We let them
wolf.
have their shining moment.
yeah.
Next
Yes.
year, we're gonna come
Absolutely
back with
not.
vengeance,
No,
though.
they're like
God, I
they're
love
like
that.
fucking potheads that just light up fireworks and have these
Oh,
crazy
Oh, that's
decorations.
so cute.
yep.
Fucking
The
people.
stoners on the block. We like to.
Yeah, I make it loud,
That
Yeah,
is so cute. Well, you guys are amazing. And
Thank.
you're amazing. Thank you.
no, thank you. We will see each other, I'm thinking this week.
Okay, until
Awesome. Let's
next
get it.
We'll keep it fresh and then we'll cover the bases. We'll just keep it. Yep. We'll do a little
time.
shoop
Keep
shoop.
it going.
Yep. All right. Thank you guys.
Awesome.
Mm.
Cultivation. No, 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 no.